MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby.
20 seconds.
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on,
You're off?
the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you're listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, who's off camera. Sitting to my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, producing Jumbo Josh. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Not much. How about technology, man? I can see my mama right here. She's in Peru. See her, Dan?
Beautiful mama. Hi, mama.
Yeah, and then that's my cousin Gloria, and she's next to her, and then my cousin Ramsey in the background. So I was FaceTiming with them before the show started, and they said, well, we want to see the actual, we want to see the show start, you know, so I'm FaceTiming him here for a few minutes. But as you all know, I have an uncle who's very sick, so keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I think I mentioned that last week, and he's battling. He's a tough man, and you know, the power of prayer is strong. So please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. My Uncle Lugo may pull through, you know, because we're all thinking about him. We all need him to continue with us here. It's too soon for him, man. He's a great person, great man. All right, today's show is a fun show. Things are going to happen in the first hour that's going to keep us really, really busy. Ben Fowlkes is going to stop by, one of the top writers in mixed martial arts. If you've ever heard my top 10, you know, MMA media listings, he's usually at the top, or, you know, in the top 3. And I think in the latest one that I did this past December, he was my #1 guy. So he does a hell of a job for USA Today Sports and MMA Junkie. So he'll be stopping by, as will one of the top coaches in the sport of mixed martial arts, Mark Henry. Not to be confused with pro wrestler and world's strongest man, Mark Henry, but Mark Henry coached to Marlon Moraes, Frankie Edgar, Caitlin Chukagian. So they'll both be in the first hour, and then, of course, the second hour is wide open. Call in 877-FIGHT-93, 877-FIGHT-93. We'd love to talk to you about anything going on in the world of mixed martial arts. 2 big fight bookings to talk about. Justin Gaethje and Edson Barbosa have signed. They're going to mix it up, as will Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero. Man, I saw those two, Dan Tom, and I was like, whoa, okay. That's some fight bookings. That's something to talk about right there.
The beach is that away.
Who doesn't want to see those guys fight?
Yeah. I was gonna say, touch back real quick. I haven't done any kind of rankings, but I would rank Ben right up there, #1, if not #1. Definitely a shoo-in for top 3. And you were one name away from one of my favorite movie quotes. Yeah, you know, because Ben is so close to Bob, and Bob, you're my #1 guy. You know that one, George?
Yeah. You know, I think we're even. He doesn't know this. I set a trap. He asked me for a favor. I cashed in right away. It was one of the fastest cash-ins ever of a favor. Oh. Ben's actually going to do the daily debate with us.
Nice.
So yeah, it'll be nice to get him on there. Actually, what is that quote from, Dan? Now you got me thinking. I thought I knew it, but
you want to venture a guess, or want me to just tell you?
Go ahead. Yeah.
The original Batman, Michael Keaton. Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Gotcha.
You're my.
All right.
Come on.
All right, so Goes is off camera for just a bit, but we're still here, trucking along like we always do. And by the way, if I haven't said this, I should, and I should say it more often. Stop by anytime you'd like. We're at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. We're in the sportsbook, and you can walk in and hang with us. We got a fridge full of cool water, except for today. I think the order comes in on Wednesday. We'll get about 8 cases. You actually got alcohol there, too, if you guys you know, want to partake in an adult beverage. And a couple seats and some headphones for you to listen to the show. If you give me enough notice, I'll do my best to have an MMA superstar here for you to meet. In fact, tomorrow, Stitch Duran's going to be here. And then on Thursday, Henry Cejudo is going to stop by with Ali Abdelaziz. So, fun week scheduled here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Again, our guests today, Mark Henry and Ben Fowlkes. All right, guys. So, welcome, Goes.
Hello.
You all right?
Yeah, we're just putting out some fires.
All right.
Everything good, though?
Pretty cool technology, huh?
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're live.
That's our mom.
That's our mom.
That's our aunt.
No, that's our – wait.
Yeah.
Oh, it is our aunt. Yeah, that's right. That's our Aunt Sonia. A second ago, it was my cousin Gloria. That's what I was like, oh, man, Gloria's not going to – she's going to think that you didn't even remember her.
Oh, no.
All right.
Speaking of putting out fires, I really want to shout out to Goes, and also update the listeners, who've been hanging strong with us to the YouTube chat, where you can always find us streaming the show. But yeah, we had a little bit of streaming bumps, but Goes was doing the job that nobody wants to. He was taking care of business with Cox today, and I was explaining to Josh before. He's like, "You're what?" And yeah, sorry, I had to throw that in there.
I got to take that one.
Yeah.
But no.
So did you solve anything?
I mean, kind of, yeah. Everything should be fine.
All right. Now, look, our video archive is all video with a map that houses not just our show commercial-free and in HD quality, but Busted Open, The Luke Thomas Show, MMA Tonight, and, of course, our friends at The Fights. So you can get it, again, commercial-free and in HD quality at any time. Download that app. You'll love it. And, of course, you can stream not just our channel but other channels. Well, why would you do that when Fight Nation 93 has basically 24 hours of combat sports covered? I know there's the occasional Super Bowl and World Series and other stuff you want to get to, but 93 should be locked in as one of your favorites. Now, there are also options. Remember, we have a long history in this sport, and our international audience to get posted hours later via iTunes. So there, I think I got it all covered. But anyway, Goes, did you see the Yeah, we're kind of used to we know what we're doing International Fight Week show. But yeah, a couple of them catch me off guard. But what weight does it carry?
Oh, if Costa gets a victory there, you can't deny a guy like that, right? Especially if he does it in spectacular fashion, though.
I didn't know if he beats Anderson Silva, want the title shot right away. I still feel he needs one more fight. Although if you beat Romero, shit, you're ready.
Yeah, what more do you need?
Yeah. And by the way, what is your favorite part of logging on to MMA Junkie? You said a site location, a date, and then what's next? So give me your top three.
Well, then it's got to be a fight after that, and then
I got an old school shout when he's done.
Messes up. MMA Junkie. Dana White goes on a tirade. He's got this.
Honorable old school shout to the. I don't know if this was a Dan Step initiative like you just mentioned back in the day, like first to do medicals and whatnot. But I remember as a hardcore fan in 2008, 2009. Going to MMA Junkie, Ox Wheeler. This guy looks interesting.
In the era of everything streamed,
the videos now,
also known as UFC Cejudo versus Dillashaw, also known as UFC Brooklyn, also known as UFC on ESPN Plus 1. Now, there was two fighters that I really liked the way they handled their losses. One of them was Rachel Ostovich. It's just in this quote. She said, "It's not a bad life, just a bad day." So right away, the positivity, I loved it. Because remember, she was having a good fight against Paige Van Zandt. And then all of a sudden, in one of those scrambles, Paige had an amazing back take, and that started the end. Couple pops in her elbow. They think that it's not going to be anything serious, but she still needs to get checked out by the doctors just to see exactly where we stand. But that night, it looked a lot more serious. I mean, people were thinking maybe a bone was cracked or whatever. But either way, I love that positivity. And then how about this one? Alexander Hernandez. He says he put up a post on Instagram, and the title here on Junkie says, "I need to learn how to fight." But if you read the Instagram post, he basically said, "It's like a victim of my own success." He iced Beneil Dariush very quickly, and he had a lot of success. And boom, next thing you know, he's facing Cowboy Cerrone, and he feels like Cerrone may be one of those guys like a stepping stone. And even though early on he actually had some moments, Cowboy made adjustments. He actually said that. And I didn't know how to adjust. And he says, "I'm going to learn so much from this." He gave proper respect. But, I'll tell you what. I was like, bravo to those two. You know what I mean? Whether it was just a post or the quote, I love how that night, I'm sure maybe to this moment, they're disappointed. But they already started the pieces of dealing with the loss. and looking forward, not backwards.
Did you guys kind of become Alex Hernandez fans that night?
Oh, yeah.
I became Alex Hernandez fan before then, but it didn't hurt me that night. I'm glad you asked that, Goes, because I think we're on the same page of that. But what I did see, and I don't know if you guys saw what your opinions are on it, a lot of people turn on Alexander Hernandez. And I know, like, for example,
Post-fight?
Yeah, because of the trash talk and the way it went. And I'm sure Donald Cerrone being a beloved fan favorite doesn't,
So they turned on him as of the press conference.
It's one of those things like, look, you got smashed and this, and you're gonna get that like regardless.
Mean, yeah.
But for me, it felt like half the people that were saying that would be the same people that if Hernandez did what the odds were projecting and he just smashed Cerrone, they would have been like, this guy's a badass. This guy, right, George?
Cerrone, you're done.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And whereas, like, I'm sure you'll appreciate this, George, because, we talk about this on the show. I'm not the biggest trash talk guy per se, but I appreciated the trash talk Hernandez did. And even though it's not my style by any means, I would not do that much less to a guy like Cerrone, a respected and dangerous dude like that. But that's also why I'm not up there, obviously. But I can still appreciate why he did it. It may not be in his character either. Hernandez seems like a nice guy, but we've seen the blueprint. You got to get in Cerrone's head, and this is the fight game at the end of the day. And I subscribe to that argument. Even if you don't feel that way, you're trying to hurt each other in there. What are a few bad words going to do, right? So I'm very forgivable.
He went
all
in on that fight. And let me point to a 90s movie, so you guys will like this.
Yeah,
you guys are
90s
guys.
movies, yeah.
Yes.
I'm both.
What do you mean?
Well, I was born in 78, so I kind of grew up
Did you run in
both.
the 80s?
Both eras, yeah.
Okay. So what was the movie with Matt Damon and Edward Norton, the poker movie?
Rounders.
That's right. And do you remember Matt Damon's telling Kanish, one of the characters, hey, your style's to grind it out. Now, Kanish has never worked a day in his life. He's always winning, but it's not much, and he's basically just not putting himself out there to have a colossal fail. Right. So you can do that in mixed martial arts, and that there's nothing wrong with it. You can do it that way, and slowly, make your move through the sport. And you can do it the Matt Damon way, which is to shove all your chips in. And that's what Alexander Hernandez did. It got everybody's attention. It got everyone fired up, including Cowboy. Cowboy's not easy to fire up nowadays. It's been a while since somebody fired up. He's usually shaking hands, smiling, putting his arm around, whatever. It's no big deal to him. But this guy really, really, struck a nerve. So he did that. But the payoff would have been amazing because, a lot of people gravitate to that. And if you get one over on Cowboy, I just think that another big fight would have been forthcoming. It didn't work out his way, and so he can do one of two ways. Just be a poor sport and say, well, I'll get him next time, make excuses. And a lot of people do. That's what heels do a little bit. Or you can do what he did. So he actually managed to do smack talk and respect, but I thought he handled it really, really good. So I salute Alexander Hernandez for trying to go there, and he would have jumped the queue on a lot of lightweights, but it just didn't work out.
Well, here's what
that's
I ask you
what Conor
guys.
was really, really good at, but it did work out for him.
The reason why I'm asking you guys is I like you both. And if you guys really like Alex Hernandez, I'll book him right now, but you just got to give me a time. How about Friday?
I like this. I like what
Okay,
he's doing
Friday, 6 p.m.
All right, don't say I've never done anything for you guys.
Okay.
I'll make that happen.
The man over here.
Hey, by the way, you know how you were trying to book Jessica Ai the other day?
Yes.
I booked her for tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You guys like the Top Gun duo about to do a high five over here. I love that. I love that reference. Maybe because I'm a big Rounders fan, but you're right.
It's an awesome movie.
Hernandez took his 3 stacks of high society, took a shot.
He took his shot, and it didn't work out, but it may work out the next time. But when you do it, I'm telling you, there's a chance you may become a little bit of an overnight superstar. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that don't like Cowboy, or they're just ready for new blood. There's a lot of people that might not know the history. Cowboy's got 2 histories. He's a WEC icon. I mean, a legend there as well. He had a lot of opportunities there. He's one of the guys that carried the WEC. Then he comes over to the UFC and, of course, become an even bigger star. But a lot of people may not even know that part of the Cowboy era. And so if they grew up and they saw
his battles with Varner were awesome.
Yeah, if they grew up and saw Hernandez and what he did to Dariush, you may have been a fan of that guy, so you may be riding with that guy.
You think Dariush was Hernandez's Johnny Chan? He sat down with Johnny Chan, took the man, and he's like, I think I can do it.
I like that. All right. Yeah,
So-
maybe.
By the way, last rounders know my favorite is when they're breaking down Johnny Chan versus Eric Seidel, and he's like, "Look at Chan, he knows his man." They're like breaking it down like it's fight tape. They're like, he doesn't know what he got himself into.
With the other girl, Famke Janssen, right?
Oh,
That's her
she's
name?
hot in that
she's
movie.
She's in the movie Taken as well.
Oh,
except
she's
a
Jean
little
Grey.
older.
She's Jean Grey as well.
Yeah.
Eh.
All right, we got to take a quick break. There's been a little bit of a reshuffle of the deck. So let's do that. We're going to break away here, and we're going to talk to Coach Mark Henry when we get back. So you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Fight Nation Channel 93. Shout out to Nilda Garcia watching the show in Arequipa, Peru. And we will be right back, so don't touch that dial.
Passing drugs. Georgian
Questions, and you'll be on your way. It's Super Bowl trivia all week, starting this afternoon at 3 Eastern on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, and streaming on your phone, and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. 4 trips, guys. So not 4 tickets, 4 trips of 2 tickets to the game, hotel accommodations, and an experience to remember for a lifetime. So that's really, really cool, man. I got to say this again. Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82. They already started at 3 p.m. Eastern. You got to listen for your opportunity to win the Super Bowl trivia, and that's happening all this week. And again, congratulations to the Patriots and the Rams. They are going to be participating in Super Bowl 53. All right, are we ready to go with our guests, Josh?
Yep.
All right, he's one of the best in the business. His name is Mark Henry, and he'll be alongside Marlon Moraes as Marlon Moraes headlines the upcoming UFC on ESPN Plus 2 card in Brazil. he will be rematching Rafael Assunção. The coach joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Coach Henry? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much, man. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George Goes and Dan. It's always great to pick your brain a little bit about a good fight, you know what I mean? And we have one coming up, but I want to draw a parallel to the Super Bowl, which, as you know, is in a couple weeks. Now, a guy like Bill Belichick and I forget the Rams guy, McShay or whatever the hell his name is, these guys are going to pour over hours. They got a lot to watch, you know what I mean? Because it's 52 players, 11 are on the field at one time. But for a guy like Assunção, who you've already fought, how much is too much, and how much film will you watch on this cat, or have you watched in preparation for this fight?
Well, it's great when you, you know, I love rematches because, you know, you already have a little bit of familiarity. But, you know, the first fight, you always guesstimate what's going to happen. And then when they actually fight, you know, it actually, you know, is the dance that's going to happen. So you definitely get a better, you know, better vibe and a more realistic thing of what's going to go down. So it really helps out. And, you know, in the rematch. But when you have two guys like this, and Assunção and Marlon, it just takes one split second of the wrong move, of turning the wrong way, and it can be lights out for either one. So, you know, they both have a lot of power in their hands, and they both are on a, you know, amazing, you know, win-to-loss ratio in the last, I don't know how many years, to, you know, it puts them to where they're at, you know. So they're both very dangerous, and sometimes that'll go out the window in a split second. You know, all the game planning you possibly could do.
Okay, and again, I want to keep drawing parallels to other sports. How, in your game plan, whether it be combinations of striking or a sequence, you know, that he's been working on in jiu-jitsu, let's just call those individual plays. Like, how many plays, or, you know, you see what I'm saying? How many situations have you guys prepared for to attack Rafael Assunção? Like, is that how the game plan works, where you say, listen, this is what we're going to do? Or is it just making him aware of what can happen and then just letting the fight unfold?
You know, I've been Marlon for, I think, 15, 16 fights, around that.
Wow.
So, you know, he's fought, I think when he came to us, he was 7-4-1. And the Assunção, you know, now, and since then, I think he's like 15-0 or 14-1. The Assunção, you know, we thought he won. He would have been 15-0. But he, you know, he's fought so many different styles and so many different types of fighters, whether tall or short or stocky or wrestlers or Muay Thai or boxers. So, you know, we already have a massive base and codes of when we had all those other game plans of other fighters. And with our guys, it's always about, you know, don't just, you know, I'll throw out a certain code. It's about, you know, why are we throwing this code? You know, why are we doing this? Because, you know, this certain fighter has length, or this certain fighter's counter fighter, like Assunção, you know, to where, you know, we have to come up with something a little different. So, you know, we've been with Marlon a long time, and, you know, so he knows, okay, Assunção will fight the counter fighter, you know, that has, you know, he's pretty much good everywhere. So, you know, that's the base of guys that we fought before. You know, that's a guy like, you know, a guy like Frankie, who's, you know, his height. So, you know, so we'll run off of past fights and what the game plans have been before. So we already have a great base. We already have, you know, a wide array of combinations that we have with codes already attached. And then we'll just implement some more off of this one and tweak some more stuff, you know, add a little, maybe subtract some stuff that we won't use, that we used in the last one that we thought would work but didn't. And, you know, that's how basically it'll go.
Are you more excited that it's 5 rounds? You get an extra 10 minutes for your guy to operate. Is that good news to you when you hear it, or do you prefer, you know, 3, unless it's for a title, obviously?
I think both these guys are, you know, they're both true professionals, and they both could go 5 or 3. But I know Marlon's gone 5 before, and we prepared Marlon for 5 rounds. He's a boat champion, so he's definitely prepared for 5 rounds before. So it's great that, you know, we've been there before with a 5-round fight. We've had camps, so it's not like we went into something new for him. You know, like he's been there, you know, before for a 5-round camp, and how we'll train, and you how we'll, sometimes go 6 rounds and then sometimes, take a rest if he's not hurt, which this camp has been great. He hasn't been hurt at all. So, we didn't have to take too many breaks this time.
Speaking of that word break, I wanted to ask you about Marlon Moraes, or maybe all your guys or whatever, but do you, you talk about these codes, and for those that don't know, Coach Mark Henry uses, different terminology when, rather than a 1-2, he'll yell different plays or names for some of these combos. And I wanted to ask you, Coach, is every fighter kind of the same? Like, in the third round, if, let's say it's been a great fight, each guy's won a round each, maybe Marlon won the second, we're going into the fourth and fifth, can they still remember all that? Or at some point, are they now fighting on instinct? Like, when does all that stop, where you're relaying the information and now they're just, it's all on instinct and survival?
Well, a lot of it is just different codes for keep your hands up. Like, could be tree, tree.
Right.
Meaning your hands are lower. A lot of what we're doing too is what the other guy's doing. So say chair is the right hand, or say chair is an uppercut. I could yell to him, he's looking chair. Without me saying he's looking for the uppercut, or you know what I'm saying, or he's looking for a shot. A flower could be a shot. Look out for watch the flower. So I communicate with him without the other guy knowing what I'm saying.
Right.
Or when he flower 54, it could be a knee. So when he shoots, do a knee. You know what I'm saying? Or, so I could talk to him without the other guy not knowing, what we're saying, which helps out a lot too. And like I said, a lot of it too is, making sure the feints are going, making sure that, have codes for angles, have codes for counters, and also too, when he's flowing and he doesn't need anything, let him flow and do his own thing,
Mm-hmm. But the reason I ask is because oftentimes, even a winning fighter, Rogan or Anik or someone will say, hey, man, in the third round, this happened. In the fourth round, this happened. The fighter will go, man, I don't even remember that. I was just an autopilot. And I guess that's why I was curious as to when, at some point, you're just staring into someone's eyes and that guy's just giving you, guy or gal, is giving you the foggy look back, and how are you so sure that they aren't understanding what you're saying, being that they've been, knocked on the head a couple times?
Because we'll see what, if I'm calling stuff and they're doing it, then I'll keep calling it.
Gotcha.
Or if I call something and they're not really feeling it, I'll say it again. And if they're not going to do it, then I'll switch to something else because they're not comfortable with it. Even the fight like this, funny, Frankie. I don't know what fight up. The Stevens fight, because I'm watching for Zabit right now. When Frankie fought Zabit, after he got a head kicked in the third round, you can hear me say, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." Like, look at me in the eyes, you know what I'm saying?
That's great
I
stuff.
was just watching. I'm like, look at me. The way you're saying it, I just felt Frank like, look at me. And he's like, I'm looking. we laughed. He's like, I'm looking. I'm listening or whatever. But, so it's funny. And it's great that the fact that, a lot, we try not to have a big, a lot of fighters. So, Ricardo and I and Nick, we can, maintain, knowing our guys. There are too many guys. I don't know how you give attention to them all. So I have we have an amazing feel for our guys because, I see almost every round they spar. I'll be there late. I'll make sure, one goes in at a time in the cage most of the time, and that. So I'm calling stuff for what is it, 100 rounds? Say they did in the camp, or 60 rounds they did in the camp. I've called those all rounds. So it's not. So it's not just the fight. We've had practice in the sparring, a lot of practice in the sparring. When we come up with a game plan and we try it, and maybe some stuff don't work, and then we tweak it and use something else. So it's already been tested in the sparring. It's already been, the code base has already been tested, in the game plan and whatnot has been through a trial. Now, the one thing I think you have to be careful of, which I learned as a coach, is you come up with these game plans and say you have an 8 to 10 week camp, and this stuff has worked, but then say they have 3 or 4 different sparring partners. Now they're catching on to it, and now you can't call it as much. You have to make sure that you're still calling it near the end of camp because that's not who they're fighting. Follow what I'm saying?
Right.
To where their training partner will catch on, but you have to remember you started for an opponent, and then you stop using some of this stuff you used in the beginning camp, so maybe you want to switch up the sparring partner, but you always want to make sure that you stay on your opponent and not your sparring partner, if that makes any sense what I'm saying.
It does, and we love watching your corner work, and that's why your answers are very interesting here. And we're talking to Coach Mark Henry, who will be in the corner of Marlon Moraes on February 2nd in Brazil.
Yeah, we have Said.
It's going to be a great
fight. We have
fight.
Said Nurmagomedov fighting too on that card.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You got a lot of killers, man. You got, like you mentioned, Zabit as well, one of our favorite fighters, Frankie Edgar. That list goes on and on. But let me turn it over to Dan Tom here, our fight analyst. Dan, what do you have for Coach Mark Henry?
Hey, Coach, as a Hawaiian, I just got to say, I know you work with a multicultural stable, but not many Hawaiians in there, so be careful if you use tree as a code word because you're just going to get the guy throwing hooks all day. So with the pigeon slang.
We don't use that one. It sounds too much like three, so we don't use it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's pigeon slang for three.
I already fixed that one.
There we go. There we go. Hey, I got to ask you, Coach. I haven't asked you this before, but it's really apropos to the matchup. Obviously, you already laid it out beautifully. Sun Tzu's a good counter fighter. I'm a little bit biased because I maybe picked and played your guy the first time, but I did edge it for Moraes. I think what we can all agree on, though, is it's a close fight. So I guess what I want to ask you, Coach, in general, especially because of this fight, what do you think about open scoring, especially as a coach who's been in a lot of 5-rounders? You've been in those tactical trenches at the highest level. What's your opinion or argument for it, if you have one?
What's open scoring?
Like, let's just say, like, the fight's going on and they announce the judges' scorecards. So the audience at home in the arena, as you as the corner would know what the judges scored it in real time, so you could be tactical. So some people would argue, well, if a guy's ahead, you're going to get more coasting like they have in boxing. Whereas the counter argument is, well, the other corner will at least know to push it, and we will get that theater to play out in the ring, so to speak.
Right. So after round one, the score would be posted in the arena, and it would say like 10-9 Moraes or 10-9 Sun Tzu. Now you know where you stand.
Especially in a tight fight like what could play out.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. I think that would definitely make for more action. I know that. I mean, the way things should be, if you've done this long enough, you kind of have a grasp. I know I've been through so many ones that I thought that we won with Frankie, or even the Marlon Assunção I thought he had, and I've been on the opposite side too. But I always, if you've been through that, you always say as a coach, it could be like, say he won 2-0, but you thought the first one was close. I'll always say it's 1-1. I'll say it's 1-1 going into the third. So I'm never on the positive side. I'm always on the glass is half full, just because we were ripped off a little bit. So or everybody has, but I think that would definitely make for more excitement. I think we would definitely have to get used to it. Just like in football rules, how they had to get used to certain new rules. I think you would definitely have to learn fight situations if you are up or you're down. That's why for me too, the first round is so important in a 3-round fight, because if you didn't win that first round, you have to go a little hard in the second, and you have to be more aggressive, and that's sometimes when you get caught, when you keep coming in, you can't take your time, it's same at angles, and you have to be a little more aggressive. So I think it would definitely make for more knockouts, and definitely for it being more action packed. So I guess it has its pros and cons, but it would definitely make things more exciting.
Gotcha. And then just another question kind of in relation to Marlon. It's a two-part. It's in relation to Marlon and Edson Barbosa. Of course, Edson Barbosa, they're linked through a childhood coach they had for Muay Thai, and that coach went to American Top Team, and hence Edson Barbosa has been training down there as of late. But I guess the question for you, Mark, is did Marlon consider making the same move? And in the other side of that coin, is Edson still a part of the family there? Because you all seem to have just a nice respect and gel together.
Yeah, Edson will always be part of the family. Like we're not friendly with Edson. We're friendly with Edson, Bruna, and Noah. So they'll always be family. It's not just Edson. It's a whole package deal. And we're happy for Edson. We were all cheering for him. And Marlon, like I said, Marlon came here 7-4-1. If the Austin South fight would have won his way, he'd be 15-0. So and not only that, like Marlon is our team. Like he has such a great bond with Frankie. Like they are joined at the hip. And I think training-wise, more than Edson, he would be more with he was more with Frankie when they trained. So I know that they're really close. He's like one of my best friends. So I never he always said he wanted to be here. So and so that's far as now. But as far as Edson, we definitely wish him total best and always cheering for him. He came here, I think, like ranked 35. We got him up to third ranked and wanted to get him to 1, but it just didn't work out that way.
That's awesome, and I suspected to hear that kind of answer again. You guys keep a great, tight team there. Last one for me, Coach. I'm hoping you have no answer for this because it'll make me sick where you find the time between Pino's Pizza and all you're already doing for all these fighters who hold you in high regard. But back to the tape study, just to revisit that for one second. Do you ever do anything in advance or keep your eyes out on certain guys outside of the matchup? Meaning, for example, a cat like Alexander Volkanovski who could be on a prospect's radar like Zabit Magomed-Sharapov, or could be on the radar of a guy like Frankie Edgar, who many subscribe to. That's the guy Max Holloway has to fight before 45. So a guy like a rising guy like Volkanovski, does that guy even hit your radar, or do you not worry about guys until they're matched up with your guys?
I saw 3 of his fights already. I watched tape.
You're a savage.
Volkanovski, we're ready for Volkanovski. Either Frankie or Zabit, but respect him a lot. I saw his last 4 fights. So we saw his last 4 fights, have some good stuff on him. And, there's also stuff, too, when you're doing this a while and you have, like all of our guys, I'm so proud of our team and our guys. They're all ranked. Every one of them's ranked. They came here not ranked, and now they're all ranked. And, and I'm proud of them. And when you're doing that, especially in the lower weight classes, like we had Eddie and Edson, like, you're watching cross fights. You're watching other opponents, like I'm watching for Zabit, I'm watching Frankie, Frankie versus, Max, or, or when you're getting ready for Stevens, like, you've seen so many guys that Frankie's going to probably fight, you know what I'm saying? So when you have, like, good guys in the lower weight classes, like Marlon, or, you wind up doing your homework before you need to do your homework, just because your guys are fighting, have fought those guys before, or, you're trying to watch tape on Stevens, and he's wanting to fight. Tell me that your other guy's going to fight in a couple fights. Or say Eddie. Eddie had fought Gilbert Melendez, and Edson fought Gilbert Melendez. Eddie fought Pettis, and then Edson fought Pettis. So, it's helped us out a lot. Or Zabit, I think his last 2 or 3 fights, I think Frankie Perez fought one of his opponents, and Marlon fought one of his opponents. So for Zabit's fight, we already had, a good handle on his guys, because 2 of our guys already beat him. So, it definitely helps out.
Coach, have you already been told that Edgar is next for Holloway? Have you heard anything? That's one booking that we are anticipating, but we haven't heard it.
If I say that would hit good headlines. Sure. No, I didn't hear anything.
Hernandez.
I wish I did, but I did.
All right, and the last one from me.
Hopefully he'll get it done.
The last one from me is, in other sports, you often hear a coach work the refs. You know what that means?
Yeah, you know what? It's. I coached football too for my son for 7-8 years, and you could definitely work the ref. And I tried MMA. And one time I was in whose fight was a Marlins fight in WSOF, and I think I said the guy's got his hands open, and like it wasn't even anything big. And the ref told me if I say something else, I'm getting kicked out of the corner. I was like, what?
Damn, really?
So yeah, it was crazy. So you definitely can't work them, but I definitely try my best. As in, he's not doing anything, ref. He's not doing anything. If a guy has him on the ground or whatnot, He's not getting, he's not trying to gain position. He's not trying to gain. So, definitely try to do it, but it's a lot harder in MMA than it is in, say, football.
Do you think it works for the judges? Can you say, no, that one didn't land, that one didn't land? Can you say something like that, like you're talking to your fighter, but also maybe relaying that info to the judges?
Well, I know Jackson. Greg will always do the good job, Mr. Condit. Good job. Good job, Mr. Condit. You know what I'm saying? So I stole some of that. We stole some of that before I remember Frankie was fighting. I had one of our cornermen, say good job. So, you try everything,
Right.
And, that's why too, like, I'm glad that we do stay code based, because it's like, when your guy's hands down, you don't want to say, your hands down, you're getting hit with the overhand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Watch the overhand. That you're not doing something. That you're not hurting your fighter too. That the judges don't know you're telling your fighter you're getting hit for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, this is always fascinating stuff. We always love talking to you. You're one of the best in the business, and we're very gracious of your time. I hope you guys have a safe camp for whatever's left of it, and of course, safe travels to Brazil. You guys are headed to Fortaleza, Brazil, for UFC on ESPN Plus
one
2.
Last thing.
Mm-hmm.
I got to make a statement, though.
Okay.
How are they doing Fortaleza, Brazil, when the Super Bowl's going on, man? How could they? I'm going to be in the air for the Super Bowl. I'm so bummed, bro.
You are?
Can we put a stop to that? I'm in the air for the Super Bowl.
Usually the flights out of Brazil leave late at night, don't they?
Yeah, but mine leaves at 8, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what. I'm at 8 o'clock at night. I think Frankie and I. So I'm smack in the middle of the thing. I know because every year it was in Vegas. I've done Super Bowl before, but it's been Vegas where I leave on the first flight.
Are you a fan of either team?
No, it's a great game. I love football. It's going to be an awesome game, and I'm a Bill fan. I'm a huge Bill fan, so I'm a Patriot hater. So, I love the Rams.
All right. Well,
I'm loving the Rams.
Hopefully there's some Wi-Fi on the plane. But again, thanks, Coach, for the time. We're up against the clock, but we appreciate your time as always, sir.
Yep. Take it easy, guys.
All right, we'll see you. All right, folks, we're going to hit a quick break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation 93.
Go, we're live.
And when you come back, we get to talk to the great Ben Fowlkes, the latest #1 MMA ranked media member on Gorgeous George's MMA media rankings, which I released this past December. I'll talk to him. What?
How much time? Do we have time when we come back right now?
Yeah.
All right.
No.
I have a new system. You know how you're doing your rankings?
Yeah.
I have my credit score for people. I figured out a brand new way to do this.
Okay.
I'll
Tell us about it in the second hour. So stay close, folks. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93, and we'll be right back. And they're doing really, really well, and I salute them. They got their newsletter going, and constantly I get updates because I support them through Patreon as well, and which allows them to go out there and branch out and do different stuff. But I've seen him get drunk before on YouTube. That's funny. Him and Chad Dundas. Ben also does the Twitter mailbag, and most recently the break. I've been really getting a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Great job between him and our other videographer who doesn't get enough love, Abby.
Yeah.
Subhand, who is based out of the UK. Him and Kenny are horses. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So Ben is ready to go. He's on the hotline now. He joins us now on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. What's up, Ben? How you doing?
I'm all right. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Sorry about the shuffling of the deck there, but we appreciate you having the free time to stay with us.
Yeah, no problem. And hey, if you like seeing me and Chad get drunk on streaming video events, February 22nd, my man, we're doing the Affliction Day of Reckoning Challenge. I've already got a pair of Dazzled jeans picked out. Going to spray some Axe body spray all up on me, and we're really going to live like it's 2009 all over again.
Now, is that the I don't remember the names, but is that the one where Fedor faces Arlovsky or Sylvia?
Fedor Arlovsky.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the second one.
Wasn't that the one where they actually released a poster where they had them as the main event, and then you know how they do like the co-main after that, and then the next guys? But I think like they had two where it was just like the shadow of a person you didn't know who it was because they hadn't gotten it. I think I still have the picture. Yeah, I think I still have the poster at home.
I mean, if you do take a picture, that'd be pretty interesting. I don't think Tom would care at this point.
Versus some guy.
Yeah.
I just remember the weigh-in being the closest MMA has ever gotten to a Calvin Klein commercial. Was that right? The weigh-in? Everybody was in their best pair of jeans, and they're weighing in with their jeans on. Like every heavyweight did it because there was an abundance of heavyweights. Like, let's all just weigh in with our kind of what Ben alluded to, stylish jeans on.
Yeah. I want Ben to have a faux hawk for this. I think it'll be fun.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
No promises.
When's that date again? February what?
February 22nd.
February 22nd. All right. Definitely tune into that one. Ben Fowlkes, let's find out a little bit more about you, and then we'll ask you some of the relevant stuff going on in MMA. We're kind of goofing off with you here. What kind of car do you drive? I don't even know.
Toyota Highlander.
Toyota Highlander. Okay, that sounds mountain-y, right? That sounds like Montana-ish, right?
A little
bit.
I
mean, you gotta have something with four-wheel drive out here, otherwise you're dead meat.
What's the coldest you've ever been in Montana? Minus what?
Oh, we've definitely been down to like, -10, stuff like that. it doesn't really matter at that point, though. It's like once you get kind of to 0 and below, it's just cold. Like, it's not like you're like, oh man, -10 is so much worse than -5. That's all the kind of weather where you can feel your nose hairs freezing within a couple steps outside your door. So at that point, you're just cold.
Okay.
Can I get to know him as well?
Sure.
Ben, you play hockey, and I enjoy watching.
He scored a goal the other day.
Yeah, I like when he puts those clips. But the one thing I've noticed, and I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything, but
here we go.
How come the teams? It's always like the blue team versus the black team. Like there's not very many like creative jerseys, or like, do you guys just have colors, or are there like nobody's the Cobras or anything like that?
Well, they're all sponsored by local businesses, and there are some interesting colors. I play on one league where we have tie-dye jerseys, and man, let me tell you, it's not the greatest, but you're never in danger of not knowing where your teammates are out on the ice when you got the tie-dye jerseys on. You really can spot each other out there. So that's nice. But, yeah, mainly I only post the clips from one team that I'm on that is pretty good, and we're the black and silver team. But, yeah, it's all just like local businesses. And it really tells you something about Missoula, Montana, that one of the leagues I'm in, like half the teams are microbrewery teams, because that is one thing we have an abundance of in Missoula, Montana, is a bunch of breweries.
Man, I haven't played hockey since I was a kid, but Ben, folks, I got to ask a serious hockey-related question here. D2, Mighty Ducks 2, best Mighty Ducks movie or greatest Mighty Ducks movie?
Okay, I remember D1.
It doesn't have the DUI scene, of D1, which is great. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have any idea what happens in D2.
Oh, it's Iceland versus America. They have what's his name, Keenan and Kel. They recruit him, who has the knuckle puck. He's got the epic slap shot, so they have to put him on the team. And it was a very classic Mighty Ducks. I was throwing it out there. I wasn't sure where the Mighty Ducks fell in old Ben Fowlkes' lexicon.
Yeah, I mean, for me, best hockey movie got to be Slapshot.
Oh yeah, that's classic. Oh, good
thing out there. Yeah.
We only see good clips of you, so we don't really know.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure you're a good player, but can you maybe pick somebody in mixed martial arts and just say, I would be that guy of hockey? In other words, I'm the Joseph Benavidez of my league, or like, who are you in that league?
CM Punk.
Oh, really?
Wow.
You're one of the worst?
I'm not very good at all. Well, in this league, I mean, if we want to get technical about it, and you guys are going to be like, hey, Ben, aren't you the league-leading scorer in the novice league? Yes, fine. Yes, I am the league-leading scorer. But the thing that is important for all of us to remember is that we're all terrible. So
I got you.
CM Punk. We're all a bunch of CM Punks out here running into each other.
I was going to go with more of like a Brian Barberina. Ben Fowlkes seems like the kind of guy that let his daughters paint his toenails, but then he'll get out there and do the damn thing,
Okay, well, then, all right, now I'm sold. Brian Barberina.
There we go.
That's me.
Do you own a snowmobile?
No.
Are those
I
expensive?
have strong opinions about people who own snowmobiles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It looks like fun.
And, well, you know what? I always encounter them because I like to cross-country ski, and a lot of places where there's cross-country ski trails are also snowmobile trails, and it always kind of annoys me because it's like, the snowmobile people seem to me like the kind of people who are like, oh, let's go out in this like really quiet, lovely, pristine environment and just ruin it. Just ruin it with a bunch of loud noises, like just rolling all over the place. And they're also not like, I always thought snowmobiles, like, you could just go anywhere with them. You're just like all like James Bond stuff out on the snow. But no, they really have to stay on like pretty tight trails. If they get out into the snow, they get stuck pretty easily. And to me, that just feels like, what's the point?
Okay. In all your years, did you and Danny Downs ever get heated? Like when, the stuff that we don't see, like, what the fuck? Why'd you say that? Or you're getting personal, bro, or anything?
We did once, and I picked him up and I choke-slammed him. I choke-slammed him through a table at a Vegas casino once. And the fear in his eyes was really something to behold.
Take it easy, Kane. That didn't happen. Come on, what happened?
No, actually, he and I hung out one night at a Vegas casino, and I realized, like, man, Danny Downs was a featherweight in his fighting days, but he's kind of a big dude. Like you see him in person, and you're kind of like, oh well, no. I mean, I don't care if you were fighting at 145 pounds. I don't really want to mess with you. I can see why you beat the Mongolian wolf. You realize getting down somebody that would probably put a hurting on you if he wanted to.
Is his potato story true?
What's his potato story?
He told us a story one time where he, at a weigh-in, he thought it'd be funny. He put a potato in his briefs. And then when he got up on stage, he took it out and he threw it in the crowd. And he said when he tossed it, it actually hit his mom in the head.
Oh, my gosh.
But I couldn't tell if he was making that up or if he actually did it.
He was a character. I remember that.
Yeah.
How have I never heard this story? That's an amazing story.
Hey, he said it on the air.
Yeah, he said it on our show like literally about 10 years ago. Or I know, no, it was here at Mandalay Bay, so it was about 8 years ago.
Wow, that's a great. I'm gonna have to ask about that.
Same thing happened to me in Brazil. I had to wear those bikini briefs or whatever, and I noticed I wasn't getting a lot of attention, right? So I went back to the store and I complained. I go, just give me some trunks. And the guy goes, what's wrong? I go, I'm not getting much of attention. I'm just not packing heat, you know? And he goes, here's a potato. Put this in your trunks and watch how they are drawn to you, right?
But you got to put it in the front.
Wow, girls, way to go. You just fucking ruined the punchline.
Oh, that was the punchline?
Jackass, yeah. So anyway, all right. Last one, Ben. Who is the last fighter? I don't know if you can name them or not, or in your history, maybe someone that's retired or someone that was just not a fan and let you know it.
Oh man, I have to pick just one. The last one to stand out was probably Michael Bisping, but even then, I felt like he was angry about something where he kind of misunderstood the point. And then it kind of gave me a weird joy when I saw, well, you know, in his role as commentator, like on the Fox Sports 1 stuff, where the same thing kind of happened to him, as will happen from time to time. People kind of don't always understand what you're saying or think they understand and don't, and some fighter got mad at him along the same line, and it was like, aha, now you see how it happens, that the person isn't even really mad at you, they just think they are.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of your sarcasm, snarkiness, whatever you want to call it. But you really do make your points, and I think you're fair. So keep doing what you're doing. But let's get to some of the hot topics. And for one, we want to include you in our daily debate. So let's just get that out of the way. We ready to go with that?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. We're going to do the daily debate, including Ben Fowlkes, the #1 ranked media member on Gorgeous George's media rankings this past December. Here's the question, guys. Following #UFC Brooklyn, TJ Dillashaw is hoping for an immediate rematch with Henry Cejudo for the flyweight title. Should he get it? Here are your three choices, guys. Yes, run it back. Yes, but for the 135 belt. Or no rematch needed. You go first, Dan.
I'll say yes, run it back, because I'm assuming that first option will be 125 since the other one is specifying 135, and I'm a fan of 125. I feel like it keeps the relevance there, and although it might not be the most popular thing to say because it might come off that I'm taking away credit from Henry Cejudo, which I'm not, but I am one of those people that wasn't the most satisfied with the stoppage. I'm not saying it was a robbery or it would have gone the other way. I just wanted to see a little more finality, and I know I'm not alone there, so if the proper people are on the same boat, I say run it back at 125 and keep some relevance in that division.
All right, how about you guys?
Man, my biggest issue with this is I want to see them run it back, but what if TJ wins? Okay? Are we going to do a third one somewhere down? I mean, like, what's going to happen there? And I just keep thinking from the UFC side, they're going to say, we can't possibly have them do it at 125 because we can't have our 135 champ lose 2 fights in a row and then promote him in another fight at 135 and go, this is the greatest 135. People are going to go, didn't he just lose 2 times? Like, I just don't see them doing it. So my vote is going to be no rematch needed.
Wow.
Even though I don't feel that way.
All right. I hear exactly what you guys are saying, except not that it's not fun to watch those guys fight or anybody that's involved in these rematches, but there are other people to consider. Sun Sao and Marlon Moraes are going to be fighting soon. The winner wants next. Davison Figueiredo and Jussier Formiga, same thing. They want the winner of Joseph Benavidez versus Henry Cejudo. And I haven't even gotten to Joseph Benavidez. He wants next. And so, if it was like football, like, hey, look, I can't get you on Sunday. We'll play you next Sunday. All right, no problem, you know. But it's not like that. Sometimes these things can go 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. Sometimes that's even how long we have to wait before we even know the damn announcement. I'm still wondering who Max Holloway's fighting next. But I would say, I guess, if I need to pick one of the three, I would say no rematch needed. But if I had to pick one of the two involving the rematch, yes, for the 35-pound belt, because I think Cejudo now earned the right for him to make history. How about you, Ben, folks?
Well, for me, I mean, if they're going to rematch, I think it has to be at 135. But I also think you need to clear up what the future is at flyweight, because if you keep just keeping it vague and saying, yeah, we're not sure what we're going to do at flyweight, and then you do a rematch for the flyweight title, it was already a stretch to do that in the first place because you wouldn't commit to actually keeping the division. It made it feel like you were just waiting to see if TJ Dillashaw was going to win, and then you could kill the flyweight division off. I think you need some clarity there. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of immediate rematches, especially when the fight ends in 30 seconds, and you can make a case that the stoppage was a little premature, but you're getting your head knocked around. You can't be too surprised when the referee steps in there. So if there is going to be a rematch, I think it has to be at 135, but if there's not going to be a rematch and we just keep the flyweight division going and TJ Dillashaw goes back to bantamweight, I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
All right, there you have it. That's our daily debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team and Ben Fowlkes. Here's how the results came out. 49% said yes, but for the 135-pound belt. And then the other two were kind of split. 28% said no rematch needed. 23% said yes, run it back. So thanks to Junkie Nation, our readers of the site, and the listeners of the show for participating. Ben, I also want to say that I enjoyed reading your article about your experience on ESPN Plus. And, boy, they got some work to do. You're right. It did remind us of the early Fight Pass days. Hell, I think Fight Pass may have had it a little bit more. May have had their act together a little bit more. You were in there looking for great fights, couldn't find them, and then when you did find them, it was because they weren't really tagged correctly. And, you know, the bar's high, man. This is ESPN that we're talking about. But what do you think of not only that, but just your viewing experience from this past Saturday night?
Well, you know, I was pleasantly surprised with the live viewing experience, especially just because, and I know this wasn't the case for everybody, as I heard later on, but for me, the process of logging in and then watching the stream uninterrupted was flawless, and that is not often the case with my internet connection in Montana. So I was pleased with that. I also, if you tell me, you know, we're going to move over to having most of our events on a streaming service and no longer most of them available on cable TV, but it's going to be quicker and not as much filler in between the fights, then I see that as a good trade. I have no problem paying a little more for it if you're going to respect my time a little more and just give me the stuff that I came to see. So I like that live viewing experience. Going through and trying to find stuff on the streaming service is a little bit different, and maybe some of it is because Fight Pass has been a work in progress and has really gotten better over the years and has figured out a lot of the things that, like, what fight fans, like, what kind of experience they're looking for, especially when they're going through the library and watching old fights or even just trying to catch up on last weekend's fights. And so they have a lot of that stuff already in there where they know, like, how you're going to want to sort through a fight card and watch it after the stuff happens. And for ESPN Plus, it's just kind of a lot of stuff thrown in there, and they don't really have the sorting down yet. Also, though, in talking to some of the people from ESPN and asking them, is there going to come a time where you have the entire UFC fight library? And the answer that I've heard so far is no, that they think that they will have a whole lot of fights on there, but they don't think there will ever be a time when every single UFC fight in the history of the company is viewable on ESPN Plus.
Ben, what were your thoughts on, we were trying to see what the new wrinkles were going to be, and right away, one thing that we noticed was Trevor Whitman. And I thought he did a pretty good job.
Right.
And if you were to kind of collectively look at all the head coaches in mixed martial arts, is there anybody else that you would have maybe preferred to see in that role? How did you think Trevor did?
I thought Trevor did a great job, and one of the things that I thought, you know, I would not have thought of him in trying to come up with somebody in that role, but I was really glad that somebody thought of him because he has a really good sense of the psychology of the fight game, and without getting his own ego involved, is really good at figuring out, like, what does a hear from you rather than just, like, you know, what is your default mode in coaching fighters. And so I think that makes him a good guy to analyze what are they saying to him during the breaks between round in the corner. What should they be saying? The one thing I'm interested to see is he had a lot of good comments to make there, but a lot of them were critical, and probably rightly so, but people are going to let you know about that at some point. Like, people are going to tell you if they felt that you were overcritical, and it's a small world, and I don't think there are a whole lot of coaches that want to draw the ire of all the other MMA trainers that way. So I'll be interested to see if they keep doing it, if it's always Trevor Whitman, and if he tempers some of his criticism when he starts hearing back from other people who don't like hearing themselves criticized.
You've been doing this for a really long time, and we talk about how big ESPN has been for the fighters, but in a way it's kind of big for us as well, because doing this so long, I'm sure you guys like us, we've all been shit on at some point, and I think you get a few pat in the backs from people going, hey, ESPN, looks like what you've been doing is now starting to pick up. It's more credible. For you, Ben, what's it like amongst all your friends in Montana?
I mean, I can't tell that anybody really notices that the UFC has moved over to ESPN yet. If they're not inside the bubble, it doesn't seem like they're aware of that. And I think the UFC has grown big enough at this point that we're no longer in the stage where we're trying to get people to give MMA a chance. Like, people have seen it. People have given it a chance. Either they're into it or they're not. The people who like it have found it already. I think we kind of perpetuate that myth at times that, like, if more people could only hear about this, then, the interest would really blow up in the sport. And I think pro fighting, people elbowing each other in the face inside a cage is always going to be kind of a niche thing. But I don't know if we're at the point still where the platform is going to make that big a difference. I think, maybe slowly you see it show up on SportsCenter more. ESPN's kind of like the default channel of every sports bar in America. I think that can make a little bit of a change just in, like, getting people to accept it into the regular fabric of the sports world. But I don't know that it makes a huge change at this point. It's already been on Fox. It's been on network TV. I think people have kind of made up their minds up about where they stand on MMA and the UFC.
ESPN did do a good job, though, during the fight week of pushing it. I was watching random college basketball games. I'm not talking about, like, #1 Duke versus #2 Virginia. I'm talking about just games like in Southwest Texas or something. And they would take the time to do live reads, multiple ones. The commentators actually talked about Cejudo and Dillashaw. You could tell they had notes. It wasn't like expert breakdowns or nothing like that. But I was pleased to see that. And then going back to, I guess, what Goes said, something about, look, nothing wrong with Fox. Fox is legit, but Fox is it's not just sports; it's all television. And I feel like ESPN, like being on ESPN, also gave it a little bit more validation.
A little bit.
You know what I mean? Like, because there's people out there that's still like no rules, fight fixing, like they're thinking the absolute worst. And I think this is something different.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And I also, I noticed that kind of stuff too. It filters in ways you don't expect. Like, I'm running on the treadmill at the gym and looking up on seeing like some college basketball game, and you just see it kind of flash across the bottom of the screen on the ticker. And it's just like, kind of seamlessly woven in there along with all the other major sports stuff going on. You're going, okay, that does, I think, long term have an effect. I think we've got to keep in mind that we're at the very beginning of the deal right now, where everybody is great friends and everybody is expecting great things to happen. And it was the same thing when the UFC made a deal with Fox, and we were told how this is going to change the entire sport, and the landscape is going to completely turned upside down, and it's a huge major breakthrough. And then by the end of the Fox deal, you're doing worse ratings than you were doing for Spike TV prelims before that. And so people's attitudes can change as the viewership goes up and down. I think right now there's a lot of optimism and some good reason for optimism, but we got to see how that plays out.
Dan, what do you have for Ben?
Man, just kind of touch up on something you guys kind of already talked about earlier, but it was something I was listening to. By the way, Co-Main Event podcast, folks. I really don't listen to much MMA podcasts these days, and you guys are one of the few podcasts I listen to, and maybe the first Patreon I actually subscribe to, because I'm realizing that watching just combat sports and only combat sports isn't healthy. So I'm gonna have to check out that Deadwood with you guys, I think. So there's a little plug for that.
All right.
But Ben, I heard you guys talking the other day about, and you kind of mentioned it at the end of one of your answers there, where the ESPN Plus, and I agree, I had a similar experience more along your line, so I didn't get a lot of the complaints, but I didn't realize because it didn't come across, and it will, especially with my beat. But you mentioned something that caught my attention, Ben, which was the going back function. It looks like it's pretty difficult to do, and even Fight Pass, which you know,
is that when you got the spoiler?
Huh?
Is that when you got the spoiler?
Maybe was that when you got the spoiler?
Well, he went in to watch a fight, and then all of a sudden, boom, the spoiler popped. I don't know. Maybe I misread it, but I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, but it's just, I know for me, even with Fight Pass, it's so much easier. But even with Fight Pass, it's a bit of a pain because you got to go to watch this guy's fight, but his most relevant fight is listed only under his opponent's name for whatever reason, and man, it eats up time in my day. But that's neither here nor there. But do you weigh too heavily on that, or does that really affect you as a viewer, or perhaps even your beat of work? Does it affect you there?
Well, I think one of the ways that it's going to affect people is that when there's stuff, you know, like a streaming service kind of fight, and especially for a lot of fight fans that I hear from, where they're like, you know, I don't watch this stuff live a lot of times either because it's on a Saturday night and I got other stuff to do, or because I know there's going to be a lot of filler in there, and like one of the things they really liked is the ability, you know, through DVR or Fight Pass to kind of go through and in a really efficient fashion just get to the fights that they wanted to see and that they were really curious about. And you're right, at least right now, like as far as like navigating that player, it's nowhere near as good as Fight Pass is, and the ability to kind of jump from one fight. So the Fight Pass thing, it got to the point like by the end where like there was all these little icons along the bottom that can tell you like, here's where the fighter one's walkout is. Here's where fighter two walkout is. Here's if you just want to skip straight to the fight. Here's where there's a flurry of action, so you can skip straight to that if you want to.
Yep.
Like they really had all that stuff down, and ESPN Plus doesn't really have that yet. And especially like if you see, you know, a crazy finish, and Fight Pass kind of allowed you like to jump back 15 seconds or whatever. And
like that button
in little, really manageable, predictable increments, kind of go back and see what had just happened. And ESPN Plus kind of doesn't really have that stuff. It'll be interesting to see if they are capable of adjusting that on the fly the way Fight Pass was, because it is like kind of a different viewing experience that I think fight fans expect at this point.
Hell, I'll even settle if they can get it as good as Bellator.com's website, where at least you're able to pull in somewhat of chronological order someone's fights. I'll be happy at that at this rate. But yeah, I definitely hear you on there. And you kind of answered my second question, which is, you know, you talked about, especially on your podcast, about pulling the plug, right? And I think we're seeing a lot of people have that conversation, especially within the MMA circle. But it sounds like with the way you kind of view things, it really not really affecting you too much, huh?
Well, you know, I already did change my cable package. It was nice in a way because it just feels like, hey, I don't need Fox Sports 1 anymore. I wasn't watching literally a single other thing on Fox Sports 1 other than UFC, so I don't need that anymore. And it just seems like the landscape in general is changing, where it's a little bit easier to kind of go through and be like, I don't need access to 500 TV channels anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I know what I want. I want HBO, Netflix, Hulu, and, you know, this one sport that I obsessively follow. And so that is a little easier, I think, and it's also, I think, kind of the way we're trending just in general, but it requires everybody to be making more kind of conscious choices. Like, nobody is really discovering new stuff that way. There's no channel surfing if we're all thinking about these things in terms of like these segmented streaming services, because, you know, if they're asking you for $5 here, $10 here, everybody has to go through that thought process a little more deliberately than they do if it's just, well, I got 250 channels and sometimes it's going to be late at night and I'm just going to like see what's on there and I might discover something new that I'm into. And streaming doesn't really give you that option, but it does give you the option of really only paying for what you want.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just going to say real quick that I went and looked at my channel history the other day, and I noticed that it was just Fox Sports 1 for when the UFC fights were on, or Easy Listening channel for when I have to leave something on for my dog when I leave the house. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really using this. Yeah, it's a classical music, 1948.
Man, I got to tell you, this dude, you should do some stand-up. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say, hey, you'd be a headliner, but I'd really like to see you do like 10 to 20 minutes in front of an MMA crowd, because this fucking article had me dying. It's called "I Spent All Morning Watching ESPN Plus, So You Don't Have to, and What Did I Learn?" And you know, like I wish I could write like this, just his ability to put the words down. But it's so true. He's got Netflix, Hulu, HBO now, Amazon Prime, and some weird British thing. What's the British thing?
I don't know. It seems to be only shows about like people in country estates making witty repartee.
And
every show is like that.
And it looks like I ought to have access to every recorded moment in human history. So true, man. Like we have so much at our disposal. Nobody's got time for it. You know what I mean? Like, we really need to figure out what we need and don't need, because it's getting ridiculous. There's some stuff that on demand that I haven't even gotten to, that I've saved up like 10 episodes. There's series that I've stopped watching in the middle of it that people would tell me, "Are you crazy?" Like I haven't finished Ozark season 2. And that's a good series. I get so distracted by all the bullshit that comes up. But anyway, he goes in there and he finds One Round Wars, and he's got the disappointment that it's not available till next Tuesday. That was hilarious. Then he went to go look at, then he skipped through a Soa Palele fight. And that's why I was wondering if fighters read this shit and go, this motherfucker, like, why'd he pick me? You know, what did I do to him? I was laughing at that. And then the other stuff was, watching Bobby Knuckles fight. He hits a button and boom, he's at the post-fight celebration. So that was the spoiler that was given away. You know what I mean? So ESPN's, I guess, Plus is going to have some struggles, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. But I'm telling you, man, I was laughing my ass off when I was reading this thing. Goes, what would you have for Ben before we wrap up?
So it's for Ben, but it's kind of for everyone. And I'll give you guys maybe my take first and see where you guys stand on this. But everything with ESPN, I want to give them a clean slate and just really be positive. And what I couldn't really figure out was Stephen A. Smith. His takes in the past.
He touched on him too.
Yeah, his takes in the past you watch him and you really it doesn't sound like somebody that knows that they should be commenting on the sport.
Yeah.
But there's ways that the guys around you can set you up to kind of make you sound okay. And it didn't seem like he wanted any piece of that. He was there, and oftentimes he kind of told the audience, like, hey, I don't even know what I'm doing here. You guys are the experts. And all it made me want to say was, well, then what are you doing here? Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. Ben, I'll
tell you what he's doing there.
Go ahead.
He's there to remind you that it's a different product than it was on Fox Sports 1. Because otherwise, if you take him away and you look at everybody else that they had as like kind of talking heads, where it's, you got Rashad Evans was there, Karen Bryant was there, Daniel Cormier's there, John Anik's there. It looks exactly like the Fox Sports 1 product. Stephen A. Smith was there, I think, solely to show you, here's somebody who you associate with the ESPN brand, to remind you that this is a different thing now, that it's not just the exact same thing with the Fox Sports 1 logo taken off and the ESPN logo put on. I think that's the entire purpose.
Can he have tried a little bit more, or just, I don't know, man. It really just seemed like he was there going, man, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is crazy.
He rolled up like 5 minutes before, rolled his palms together, and was like, all right, here's what I got.
Like, I feel like if he could hear us and we go, hey, man, this guy's not making any sense, he would go, I know, right? Isn't this crazy?
Like a Kardashian hosting like a New Year's thing where they just go 10, 9, have fun, Vegas.
It really didn't make sense.
Kind of mail it in. A little bit, yeah.
No, I appreciate that feel though, because I'm not familiar with Stephen A. Smith because I'm completely ignorant to ESPN. But even me as a hardcore, I was like, oh yeah, it's different right now. So even as a hardcore, it gave it that effect. And as a boxing fan, I kind of liked it. Like I went back to watch Fedor versus Matt Lindland, and forgive me, but I can't remember the really. I'm drawing a blank on the boxing announcer, but he called that fight, and it was just so cool to hear a classic boxing announcer, over a MMA fight, and even on rewatch.
All right. Well, hey, we took up a lot of your time. Sorry. I know you're a family man, but it's always great having you here. And we will definitely be tuning in for, like I said, Dan and I are support you guys on Patreon, and we look forward to Affliction, the Day of Reckoning, I think you said is coming up. But thanks as always for your time, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully we can get you in Vegas in studio sometime soon. Maybe you need to fly out here more often. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, hey, my pleasure, and thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, Ben. We'll see you. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
clean, but Dad tested positive for
choice but to be humble and do a little apology post.
He does have a choice. He can just do nothing, or he can stick with the theme of being, make an excuse or whatever. Exactly. And so he chose to take the right the way of being classy. So I think he did have some choices, Kevin.
Yeah, I just felt like, he had, if he wanted to save his image in any way, he's going to have to say, oh, man, I underestimated him, go that route. So I felt like, yeah, he did the right thing and apologized. A lot of people maybe just put their head down and not said anything. So that was good of him to do that. And my other point was Henry Cejudo. Man, I was saying that before the fight, people are counting this dude out. They're just completely counting him out. The dude is an Olympic champion who was coached under the Brands brothers. If you know anything from the wrestling world, you know the Brands brothers and how elite they are. And people are saying, oh, man, did you do that? He's going to smoke him. This is an easy fight, blah, blah, blah. And completely shut up the haters there. But I did want to talk about the stoppage, because I hear a lot of people saying, oh, man, it's all about protecting the fighters. You got to protect the fighters. They sign up for this. They get paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars even in some cases to put their health on the line. This is what they sign up for. You got to let it keep going. TJ Dillashaw was turning into him. He was still moving. If he wanted out of there, he would have ended up like Chael Sonnen, turtled up, face down, waiting for the ref to come and save him. That was not the case at all. He was still moving, trying to continue to fight. I just felt like all these people were like, oh, you gotta let him keep. You gotta stop the fight. Good stoppage. I was completely disagree there. I thought, you gotta let him fight. You gotta let him have a chance. Championship fight. Let him get put out. I said the same thing in Kevin Lee versus Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa, you gotta let him get choked out. Let him get choked out. Put to sleep. Let him get knocked out. They get paid millions of dollars. Let him get knocked out. But that's my take for today, guys. Take it easy.
All right, see you, buddy. Well, I think we all agree that we could have taken a little bit more. I think we've all said early. Nothing too egregious, but, yeah, early. And his second point was, about Dillashaw. I don't know what forum or thread he got caught up on, but no one I knew that had a brain said Dillashaw's going to smoke him. I think people said Dillashaw might win, and these are my reasons. But anybody else is probably just some cartoon character. And anybody that said that, these are solid fighters, so no one's gonna smoke. I haven't said that too often. I know I say it from time to time, and guess what? I've been wrong. But it is really, really hard to just smoke somebody at this level, especially champ versus champ.
I agree. An update on Alexander Hernandez. His first point, he will be on the show Friday.
Oh, cool. Good job. Yeah, that'll be interesting to get his thoughts on where he's at. All right, so, guys, we talked for a while with Ben Fowlkes, and we, amongst ourselves, chatted a little bit about this ESPN era that kicked off. We're very pleased with the pre-fight, they did a lot of promotion through their Talking Heads type shows, through their social media, live reads on other sporting events. But there was one unfortunate incident that took place, and it involved Ariel Helwani, who's actually from ESPN. It's not like it was even somebody outside. He's within the family. He went on the Dan Le Batard show to do what he had done all week long, and that's just promote the launch of the ESPN era, UFC on ESPN, the card itself. And, this isn't any unfamiliar territory for Dan Le Batard, because it's basically the same thing as somebody coming on to promote boxing or pro wrestling, and Dan Le Batard, I don't know why, but he treated him horrendously. And I don't know why he did that. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that just punks people, he may have an opinion, but I've never – that's like downright rude what he did.
I was saying, even amongst friends, even if they were the best of friends, I still think you couldn't get away with, well, that's just my boy and that's how we do things. It was pretty bad, dude. It really was. And it was hard to listen.
And he also spoke bad of MMA. He actually called MMA, the sewer, like we're the sewer sport. So let's go to cut number one where Le Batard calls MMA the sewer, and he's basically bringing on Ariel to do what he has to do, sell the MMA, but is showing no interest.
the damn sewer.
Really handsome, too.
Okay, don't say it's a sewer. It's a
It
great
is a
sport.
sewer
No,
that ESPN didn't want before and wants now, but all of a sudden it was too violent for Disney before, now it's fine. I want to call my mentor. Ariel, just sell your thing real quick, and I am going
to...
The best part about this is that I've only been on your show once. I'm a huge fan, and we actually share a common bond with our hatred of Jeffrey Loria, who killed my baseball team, the Montreal Expos, and killed the baseball market.
Look at that. So
he did him a favor.
He's not treating him very nicely at all, but Ariel says, fuck this. I'm just going to go on there and try and salvage the spot. I got a job to do. And you notice a couple of the guys are piping up saying, it's not the sewer. Now, look, they may disagree. Let's say all 5 of them say, oh, fuck this sewer, the sport, of MMA. Dude, you're working for ESPN, and they're trying to sell subscriptions. They've committed to $1.5 billion over 5 years. That's $300 million a year, and they want to get the ESPN Plus, and this is the flagship sport that's going to take them there, as far as getting that going. So trust me, they want to sell this. Whatever it is you feel behind the scenes, I mean, you got to play a little bit ball. So I think the team's trying to tell him, like, yo, bro, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you can tell.
And he's not catching on. And so that's why I'm like, how dumb can you be, or how stubborn can you be, or what's this hate that he might have that he's acting this way? Do you guys understand that?
I don't. It's brutal. And like you said, like, Ariel had every opportunity to kind of fight him back, and he did him a favor, I thought, by trying to turn things around on his show.
Now, look, Ariel's trying to, like, continue the spot and watch how Levitard interrupts him and tells him to shut up. But cut 2, please.
The Expos, and then he leaves the Expos, and then he goes to Florida, and he kills that market, and I'm like, wow, I'm so excited. Dan Levitard, he hates Jeffrey Loria. He's the guy who's trying to save baseball in Florida. And I'm so excited. And the last time I was on your shows when I got banned by the UFC, and Dan was making all these jokes about Big J journalism, and then he kind of offended me, and then he had to text me with his tail between his legs. I was like, hey, that's the show. That's what we do on our show. It's so fun. And now this is my big triumphant return.
All right, shut up for a second, Ariel. Shut up. All right, listen, shut up. Pot him down again.
Don't do
just
this,
shut
Ariel.
up. Shut up for a second. Here it is. Listen to me, okay? This is how it happens around here.
So rude.
The MMA, I remember Dana White for a long time.
You calling it the MMA? Damn it.
Let me take you back to the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to say the MMA, and also I just was going to say about the previous clip, I was going to weigh in and say that, man, unless Dan Levitard has only seen, like, Yoel Romero fight, who looks like a Ninja Turtle, then where's the sewer thing come from, But yeah, no, the MMA kind of says it all there, and his own guys are, like you said, George, be perfectly noted there. You can almost sense that. You're right. They're almost like, pump the brakes, bro. Like, you're going to throw yourself under the bus, and a lot of those guys, that's that older guy style of, I don't really listen to that too much, but that seems like that's that more like older guy style of radio or segment, not producing, but, executing. And I don't know, not my school of things. And for reasons like this, because when it backfires on you, it looks really bad. It goes from shtick to stupid.
For sure. All right, listen, I want to continue with this, but let's take this last break, and then we'll come back, and you guys can hear the rest of what happened with Ariel Helwani from ESPN, who went on the Dan Levitard show, which can be found on ESPN, and yet it didn't go well. In fact, he was treated very, very unprofessionally, very rude, and I wasn't a fan of it, man. It sucks because I was a fan of Levitard, but I did not like that one bit. So stay close. We'll be right back.
ESPN. Dana White wanted John Skip.
So Fox, he knew Fox was going to offer money. There was word that maybe NBC Sports might get involved. You know, they're warm to mixed martial arts, and of course ESPN. I heard Netflix. There were rumors, so yeah, I could see Dana White, you know, leaving 2 tickets to many executives, whoever was going to maybe get him the biggest deal. But I think if we're being honest, ESPN's probably everybody's first choice. They've got a lot of money, and they are huge, you know, and ESPN's worldwide, and especially a sport that needs validation. That's it. All right, let's see. I think we have time for the last cut. Now here, they continue on, and this is about an 11-minute spot or so, but we kind of selected certain little points there. At one point, by the way, he's actually FaceTiming Kornheiser as he's made Ariel wait this whole time.
Kornheiser?
Like, I didn't understand that. Tony Kornheiser. So can you go to cut 4, please, Josh?
You
Yes,
love
I
this
do.
sport.
Yes, I do. I love this sport. Yes, I do.
It's a big day, and Ariel is essentially the face of our media coverage, and
All right.
wasting his
So,
damn time.
So, Ariel, just sell what this event is now that What?
I'm not here to sell anything. I'm not here to sell anything. Listen, the only interaction I've ever had with Amin Al Hassan, who I believe is in studio, was on Twitter, Mayweather McGregor. So I know what you guys are doing. I understand. I'm not here to sell anything. You can call the sport Suez. Do all you want. You're great at your jobs, but you're missing one important part of that history lesson. The most important part of that history lesson is that the great Jimmy Pitaro is the president of ESPN, and he recognized that MMA is a wonderful sport. It's
pot him down already. Come on, pot him down already. Christ almighty. I'll do it for you. Enough with this guy. Enough with this guy. Out of here. Out.
Now, look, it may be a disagreement of opinion, but why not debate it and have fun with it? You don't have to pot him down.
I mean, again, back to my ignorance on ESPN, but this guy sounds like more ignorant than my ignorance toward ESPN. This guy sounds like the Bill O'Reilly, like wannabe Fox. He's like, you really gonna market yourself? Like, what is Lebertard's background? Like, clearly not as an athlete or anything that had to do with any type of respect or competition or putting your own balls on the line because someone doesn't speak like that, or he's just a really you know, that's just a shtick. But hey, he's successful. What am I going to say? He's obviously somebody successful.
He does have a lot of success. This came out of nowhere. Honestly, I've never even heard. I've heard him have discussion with somebody, and he could have even had fun with it, playing the bad guy. But that was just borderline rude.
Yeah,
or I was actually.
His own guys were saying it.
Exactly. It was past rude. I mean, it was hatred is what I'm trying to get. Like almost like he just maybe has a hatred towards Ariel. And Ariel said that they had some sort of a history. He got treated bad another time. I don't know if he'll go back on it again, but that just makes no sense, especially with all this being brand new. They're trying to sell subscriptions, and you would think they'd get off to a better start. But we got to get on out of here. So I want to thank our guest today, Mark Henry, the coach Mark Henry. He'll be traveling with Marlon Moraes to Brazil for UFC on ESPN Plus 2. He'll be headlining versus Rafael Assunção. And we also want to thank Ben Fowlkes for his time. He writes for us here at MMA Junkie. So catch him all the days of the week. He puts out great stuff. All right, tomorrow, back again, 8 p.m. Eastern with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Until then, be champions.
2, 1.